Ethan grew up in a small town, a place where everybody knew everybody, and news traveled faster than the mail. His dad was Samuel, a man with only one eye. He'd lost it in a work accident years back. To the neighbors, he was just that quiet man, the one who fixed engines and hauled boxes. But to Ethan, especially as a kid, he was the reason other children stared. When friends snickered and whispered, Ethan pulled away, step by step, like someone backing out of a room, hoping no one would notice. Samuel never said much about himself. He just worked auto repair, lifting cargo, odd jobs nobody else wanted, as long as it paid for Ethan's schooling. Every night, he'd drop a few coins into an old wooden box and say the same thing, in that calm, matter-of-fact voice. "Study hard, son. The world's a lot bigger than this town." But Ethan didn't hear love in that. He just saw the missing eye, the worn clothes, the quiet presence that made him feel small and embarrassed. So when he got into college in the city, he treated it like a clean escape. He didn't visit, didn't call, didn't even mention his dad to new friends. After graduation, he landed a good job in New York, got married, and built a life that didn't include his past. 5 whole years went by, and he never once went home. Then, one day, his phone rang. It was an old neighbor. Just 2 sentences. "Ethan, your father's gone." The words hit him like ice water. He went back to his hometown, but it didn't feel like returning. More like stepping into a memory he'd abandoned. A neighbor handed him that same wooden box, the one his father used to feed with coins. Inside were stacks of old tuition receipts, faded childhood photos, and a letter that had never been mailed. The handwriting was rough, the paper worn at the edges. It said that when Ethan was 3, he'd had an accident. Bad enough that the doctor said he'd lose one eye forever. The only chance was if someone donated theirs.
His father, without hesitation, offered one of his. He'd never mentioned it again. Not to his son, not to anyone. He ended the letter with a single hope, that one day, when Ethan looked at the world with both eyes, he'd see more beauty than Samuel ever could. Ethan just sat there, stunned. He had no idea. None of his friends had known. His father had carried that story alone his entire life, and let his son resent him, without ever defending himself. That night, Ethan cried harder than he had since he was a child. He realized he'd spent years ashamed of the very thing that saved his sight. He turned his back on the man who had literally given him half his vision. For the first time, he didn't see a one-eyed man. He saw someone who'd looked at the world through love, long before anyone gave him credit. After that, Ethan didn't try to rewrite the past. He knew some things couldn't be undone, but he started changing the part of the story still in his hands. He brought his mother to live with him. He learned to listen. He taught his own kids what gratitude really looks like. And in his quiet hours, he began writing little stories about kindness, about blindness of the heart, about how growing up sometimes happens far too late, not out of guilt, but because he finally understood the kind of man he wanted to become. Some people get the chance to fix their mistakes while the door is still open. Others learn too late that silence can cost more than truth. Growing up shouldn't start at a graveside or with a regret you can't return from. Gratitude isn't something you feel after everything falls apart. It's the thing that keeps it all from breaking in the first place. And love, it doesn't always show up with grand speeches or perfect timing. Sometimes it's quiet, a little rough around the edges, and easy to ignore, right up until the moment you realize it was carrying you the whole way.